Okay, the second portion of this video on the 44700 is the rehanding procedure. In the link below this video to the installation instructions, that is going to be discussed or detailed. The installation instructions on a lot of items that I have reviewed that are imported from Asia, the installation instructions are often things that are not written very clearly, although the data is there. But because I conclude that they're written by someone whose first language is not English, they will sometimes say the same thing twice, and they'll say it in different words, and you wonder, why are you saying this twice? But then once you realize it's written by someone whose first language is not English, you can then step back and review the material with a different set of eyes and understand that you're trying to pull the data out of the installation instructions. For instance, the rehanding procedure, installation instructions, there will be some deviations between the genuine product and what's on the paper, and also what is stated. So the rehanding instructions state that this lock is for a right-hand door. Your door is going to be right-hand, so it's going to operate this way from your perspective. Okay. You cannot, when it's locked, you cannot turn it clockwise. You can always turn it counterclockwise. When I'm trying to turn it clockwise, it doesn't move that tail piece hardly at all. When I turn it counterclockwise, it will always move in that direction. The net effect of that is when the lock is installed on the door, you can, regardless of having the code or not, always lock the door. If it's unlocked, you can always come and lock it. But however, you can never unlock the door unless you first enter the code. The locking of the door, if the door is already locked and you rotate it counterclockwise, it does nothing because the bolt's already projected. Okay. The counterclockwise does two things. It will throw the bolt, which doesn't matter if it's already locked, and it will clear the code. So you can't just, turn it clockwise to unlock unlock it. For a right-hand door, when the latch bolt is installed, when the latch bolt is installed, and it's going to look like this. Okay. And I've got a tail piece placed in there temporarily. We're going to look like this. So now you're on the inside of that right-hand door. Okay. From the outside perspective, again, I can turn it counterclockwise, but that does nothing because the lock's already locked. I cannot turn it clockwise to unlock it. If I were to turn that more, I would probably destroy the lock, or you know what I mean. It's locked. Don't turn it any further. When I enter the code, that's the code of this lock. Ignore the C. The C is for code. 1467X is what you need to enter. You don't have to enter them in order. You can enter them in any order that you like, so long as that combination of buttons are depressed. 1, 6, 7. I had a 4 and then an X. I did not enter those in order, but I entered them. I can then, don't think I cleared the code. 1, 6, 7, 4, X. I entered the proper code. I could then turn it clockwise to retract that bolt. I can now no longer turn it clockwise again, but I can turn it counterclockwise to re-latch that bolt. That's for a right-hand door. Obviously, if you have a left-hand door, you're going to need to change the function, because you ought to have the ability to always unlock it, but never lock it without the code, which is not what you want. Now, the installation instructions call out, remove the 2 blue head screws. Well, those screws that are on there are not blue, they're red. And however, there are the only screws on the back side. Okay. So I am going to using the camera above me, that camera above me, let's draw that up a bit bigger. I'm going to take my, you know what, I'll turn it around to hold it towards you. I'm going to carefully, with one hand, control the plate. Keep your fingers on it. Don't let it move. I'm going to loosen the first screw. I'm going to be ultra careful to not lose it. I'm going to, while I'm still controlling the plate, I'm going to remove the second screw. And controlling the plate, regardless, is basically means there's probably something spring-loaded underneath there, and there indeed is. The plate, I happen to know this lock, the plate has springs in it, and you can carefully lift it out of place. All of those springs are captive. They're not going to go anywhere, so there's nothing to be concerned with about that. But be careful with it. Don't do anything to it. There are a variety of additional pins that are put in there. Okay. The rehanding instruction says remove the two blue screws, take off rectangular lid. We've done that. They were red. Pull up the pin and insert it into the right hole and install the supporting pole from left to right hole. So none of that makes any sense at all. But what they're saying is pull up the pin and insert it on the hole that's on the right. So right now when you look at this, that pin is on the left. Take the pin out of this side and put it into the right side. To do that, doing a little bit of locksmithing work here, we'll always have tweezers around. Lift that pin out and do not lose it. And put it into the opposite side, just like I've done. I've got that put in the opposite position. It's now here when it was initially here. Carefully take that plate and reseat it down. Control the plate. Make sure that it fits down real nice. And I'm discovering that this does not at this moment fit down real nice. So something's occurred. It could be operator error. It is. Okay, so whatever I did, I reseated it. Control that and put your two screws back in. Now, I'm not going to do that in this video because this is going direct to a client, and I'm just going to put it back the way I found it. Move this over to the left side because it's a right-hand lock. There it is. So what I noticed was that pin didn't sit down flush, and when I tapped on it a couple of times, it still didn't move. But when I rotated the knob slightly, it allowed that pin to fully seat, which is why the plate did not sit flat the first time through. I'm going to tighten that first screw. I'm still controlling it. Not overly tight. You don't need anything excessively tight. Okay. Now we're back to the way we were. The knob still turns real nice and functions. Okay. Now we are back in a position where we have demonstrated how to rehand the lock. And we're going to pause this video and then move on to the next section.